truth. Perhaps the Department of Defense would use this knowledge and develop super high voltage devices to kill people, enemies, somewhere in the world. But I couldn't let sick people suffer. Besides, it would probably require a voltage much like lightning to kill people from a distance. Possibly a way could be found to shield yourself from frequencies harmful to humans by wearing a choke, inductor, coil which suppresses these frequencies. Remember, there is no recovery, just a slow death for my experimental animals. It must not happen to humans. Meanwhile, people must be alerted that they can safely kill their invaders and heal their chronic illnesses. Invaders that have been increasing exponentially due to lowered immunity in recent decades. Possibly this is true for all species on our planet. The pollution of the entire biosphere has been increasing, and with it the prospect of acquiring immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS, for all of us. Remember, though, that the true challenge is not to kill our invaders, but to regain our health and immunity. More than just parasites are making us sick. Pollution is too. Selective electrocution rarely makes people completely well. Sick people always have an environmental factor that must be corrected also. How do we do that? The ship of progress of increasingly complex processed foods and products must be turned around and simplicity become our goal. Survival is in simplicity of food intake, simplicity of life habits. Did Ralph Waldo Emerson foresee this when he said, "To be simple is to be great"? Or will daily parasite and pathogen electrocution become another crutch that makes us just enough better that we can continue a detrimental lifestyle? Yet another band-aid treatment for our poisoned planet. Bioradiation. Strange as it appears, it now seems obvious that every living creature broadcasts its presence like a radio station. The sun or the stars, I have named it bioradiation. Perhaps it is the same energy as the Asian Qi. Perhaps it is merely related to it, or orgone. Perhaps it is the energy that runs along the meridians discovered aeons ago by Asian practitioners. Perhaps it is the energy that faith healers and religious teachers know how to harness. Perhaps not. Perhaps it is the energy that psychics perceive and that drives occult phenomenon. Perhaps not. What is truly amazing is that ordinary persons have discovered such energy well ahead of scientists. Persons using the art of kinesiology, pendulums, radionics, dowsing rods, and many other forms of strange energy have no doubt harnessed a part of this bioradiation. It is a tribute to the generally high intelligence of common people and to their open-mindedness that they discovered this energy in spite of opposition from scientists of today. Over a century ago, the scientists of Europe proposed the existence of a life force called the Elan Vitale. They were scorned out of existence and out of jobs. Young scientists, including myself, were systematically taught to scorn this idea. Of course, we were also taught that a good scientist was unemotional, does not scorn ideas, has a completely open mind, and does not rule something out until it is disproved to their dissatisfaction. The youthfulness of college years is so susceptible to prejudice of all kinds, and the desire for acceptance is so great that special effort needs to be made to teach neutrality, or at least to distinguish between emotion and fact. Where have these basic pedagogic principles gone? I was indeed inspired with the phrase search for truth, but then promptly led down the path of search for acceptance. Search for truth versus search for acceptance. I do not know what bioradiation this electrical broadcast from our cells is made of. Only its frequency was noticed and caught, modulated in such a way as to be measurable, and this frequency, 1,520,000 to 9,460,000 hertz for a human infant, is in the radio frequency RF range. Anyone who is experienced with RF knows its strange behavior. Not strange in the unknown sense, but in the amazing sense. Circuits don't need to be complete or closed for it to travel. Bodies and objects can pick it up without being in the circuit. These amazing properties are due to the capacitive and inductive properties of objects all around us, including ourselves. Zapping bugs. By zapping, I mean selectively electrocuting pathogens. For years, I used a commercial frequency generator to zap one pathogen after another. First, I made a chart of the frequencies for most of the bacteria and viruses in my collection, over 80, see page 561. Then I would test the sick client for each one of these and hope they did not have one for which I didn't have a sample. Even persons with a simple cold typically had a dozen they tested positive to, not just adenovirus. Next, it was time to tune in the frequency generator to a dozen frequencies for 3 minutes each. The total process, testing and treatment, would take about 2 hours. They frequently got immediate relief, but often the relief would be temporary. What I didn't know at the time was that viruses could infect a larger parasite, such as a roundworm. Until you killed your roundworm and your virus, you would keep getting the virus back promptly. What I didn't know at that time was that viruses could infect a larger parasite, such as a roundworm. Until you killed your roundworm and your virus, you would keep getting the virus back promptly. Important to remember, AM radio broadcasts are from 540,000 hertz to 1,600,000 hertz, slight overlap with the lower end of the human band. FM is 88 million to 108 million hertz out of the human range. In 1993, my son Jeffrey joined me and we tried a new approach. He programmed a computer-controlled frequency generator to automatically cover all the frequencies populated by all the parasites, viruses, and bacteria from 290,000 hertz to 470,000 hertz. It spent about 3 minutes for every 1,000 hertz it covered. This was more efficient, but it meant spending 10 hours being zapped. Again, the results were disappointing. Arthritis pain, eye pain, colds were improved but not completely cured overnight. Months later, I'd find that organisms were transmitting as low as 170,000 and as high as 690,000 hertz. My specimen collection was obviously incomplete. To cover this larger range, spending 3 minutes for every 1,000 hertz would take 26 hours. Still worth doing if it would indeed help all our illnesses, but even this method of zapping was not 100% effective for reasons yet to become clear. In 1994, my son built a handheld, battery-operated, accurate frequency generator. The purpose was to enable everyone to kill the intestinal fluke at 434,000 hertz with a low-cost device. Enough benefit would be derived from zapping at various frequencies that I thought everyone should know how to make one. When I tested it on one of my own bacteria, however, 3 others at much different frequencies died also. This had never happened before. When I tested it on others, even though they had dozens of pathogens, all were killed. Subsequent testing showed it was not due to some unique design or special waveform produced by the device. It was due to battery operation. Any positively offset frequency kills all bacteria, viruses, and parasites simultaneously. Any positively offset frequency kills all bacteria, viruses, and parasites simultaneously. Given sufficient voltage, 5 to 10 volts, duration, 7 minutes, and frequency, anything from 10 hertz to 500,000 hertz. Before this, I had always set my commercial frequency generator to alternate between positive and negative voltage. Now I tried setting it to alternate between positive and 0 voltage, positive offset. It was just as effective as the battery-operated frequency generator my son designed. Generating positive offset frequencies is the best way to kill a pathogen quickly, but it takes more than one treatment. It takes 3 treatments to kill everything. Why? The first zapping kills viruses, bacteria, and parasites, but a few minutes later, bacteria and viruses, different ones, often recur. I concluded they had been infecting the parasites and killing the parasites release them. The second zapping kills the released viruses and bacteria, but soon a few viruses appear again. They must have been infecting some of the last bacteria. After a third zapping,